Okay, good afternoon everyone and welcome to today's webinar looking at the skills, challenges and opportunities in the engineering sector and how the apprenticeship family can help to build those key skills. My name is David Aaron. I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager for the Graduate Apprenticeship team here at Heriot-Watt. And today we're delighted to be joined by our colleagues from Skills Development Scotland and Forth Valley College. So first you're going to hear from Billy Scott from SDS, who's going to cover the skills, challenges and opportunities in the sector. And then you'll hear from Aisha Craig and Caroline Hogg from Forth Valley College, who will cover the foundation and modern apprenticeships. After that, you'll hear from Lynn Somerville from Heriot-Watt, who will cover graduate apprenticeships. Now, before I hand over to Billy, I'm just going to cover off some quick housekeeping. The session is being recorded, as you'll have seen. We'd appreciate it if you could just switch off your cameras and mics during the presentation. And also there will be an opportunity to ask questions at the end of the presentation. So you can either use the chat function or you can ask those verbally. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to you, Billy. Billy, over to you.
Many thanks indeed, David, for the welcome, and thanks also for asking SDS to be involved in this session. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Billy Scott, and I'm part of the SDS Climate Emergency High Value Manufacturing team, and my specific focus is on engineering. So if you could move on, David, I'm just going to outline what I am going to cram into the next 15 minutes. I'm going to talk about how we've been engaging with the sector to get our industry insights and what challenges have come our way because of the pandemic, what we're trying to do about these challenges and trying to mitigate some of the impacts. I'm going to touch on the Climate Emergency Skills Action Plan, which was launched in December. Talk a wee bit about how SDS sees the future for learning pathways. Talk a little bit about upskilling and retraining interventions, and I'm going to finish off with some excitement in one of the subsectors there. So if we can just click right on, please. This is how SDS and myself in particular, my team, have been engaging with the sector to get our labour market insight, working, for example, in the Scottish Government's aerospace recovery group. The aerospace sector was really badly affected by COVID. In March last year, planes stopped flying and therefore did not need to be maintained, repaired or overhauled. We didn't need people to be manufacturing parts for planes, and Scotland had a workforce of about 10,000 people working in aerospace, most notably Rolls-Royce on the west coast, and then in Ayrshire as well. There's a hub where about 5,000 people work. So the aerospace subsector for engineering and manufacturing was really badly hit. So there's a government recovery group which we've been working on, and we co-lead on the skills work stream. Also involved with the manufacturing recovery plan, which is part of the Making Scotland's Future policy. We've been inputting to the skills and workforce theme, and in fact I've just come off a programme board meeting for that. There's a lot going on in terms of the skills. I represent SDS on the government's space group, so there's a lot of interface with industry and academia there. I'm also governed by a skills leadership group, the Engineering Skills Leadership Group, which is a formal group of about 20 to 25 people who represent all aspects of the sector, from industry and academia to colleges. And we formally meet on a quarterly basis, but since March last year, we've been meeting fortnightly. And I have weekly calls with the chief exec of the trade body, Scottish Engineering, and also consulted with a number of organisations and interested parties in developing the Climate Emergency Skills Action Plan, which I said was launched in December last year. Thanks, David. I mentioned before that the aerospace sector was badly hit. Obviously, oil and gas sector was also badly hit pre-pandemic, also even more so during pandemic. 60% of firms in the sector in Scotland had either made redundancies or were planning them when furlough ends. But on the other hand, we've actually seen that, except for aerospace and oil and gas, we have seen faster and more optimistic recovery over the past month than we anticipated. And I think the rollout of vaccines has really helped there. There was a hit around apprenticeship recruitment. Any providers out there would know that. Modern apprenticeship registrations for the last financial year were only 60% of what they had been before. It was actually worse than that, but the employer recruitment grant, which kicked in between December and March, saw us getting over 80 registrations in March for the modern apprenticeship in engineering. Normally you'd only get 5 or 6 in the last month of the financial year, so that was a boost. But that's still going to give us skill shortages in years to come, because a company that didn't recruit an apprentice last year will be short of a technician in 4 years' time. So if you multiply that by maybe 400 downturn, we're going to be 400 technicians short in 4 years' time. Also, there was a number of in-programme apprentices made redundant. So a 4th-year apprentice get made redundant, wouldn't be a technician next year, and so on. We lobbied hard to the government, and we were successful in getting the Adopt an Apprentice scheme extended to £5,000 for the engineering sector, and we were able to place redundant apprentices across the board, actually. The other challenge is that the pandemic actually increased the rate at which some engineers and manufacturers introduced Industry 4 techniques and capabilities. So the challenge that presents us with, and while it is a good thing, but the challenge there is that we're going to have to upskill or reskill the workforce in terms of operating the tools and techniques of Industry 4.0. Thanks, David. Okay, things that are going on just now. We are looking at the potential market for Scotland to be involved in decommissioning in areas such as decommissioning aircraft, oil and gas infrastructure, and some transports. A lot of things are coming to the end of their workable lives, and there could be a significant market for decommissioning of aircraft, and that could be good news, because engineers and technicians who worked in maintenance, repair and overhaul are well placed to get involved in decommissioning. And we know also that a lot of oil and gas infrastructure already needs replaced and will continue to need replaced. The transport side, a lot of Scotland's rail infrastructure and rolling stock are not fit for purpose for a carbon zero future. So there's opportunities there to decommission trains, for example. We've got quite a significant interest from inward investors in coming into the rail sector and the space sector in Scotland. And that growth would be very welcome in terms of job creation. One sector that felt no impact from COVID was the defence sector in Scotland. And with recent MOD orders, the defence sector will grow in Scotland. National Transition Training Fund, which I'm sure some people on this call might have been involved in. The National Manufacturing Institute for Scotland, NMIS, is providing CPD in Industry 4 technologies and zero carbon skills. And they've also introduced a boot camp for unemployed STEM graduates. And there's about, say, 30, but it's going to rise. There's 30 unemployed graduates who are being placed via NMIS throughout Scotland, most of whom are going to be working in green energy, and hopefully after the 6-month placement we'll be able to secure permanent jobs. The manufacturing recovery plan, which I referenced earlier on, it's a significant document, and on the skills work stream we've proposed, or we've started actually to pilot via West College Scotland a foundation apprenticeship in digital manufacturing. This is taken entirely from the framework for the FE in engineering, but we handpicked the options to make it to give it the digital slant. So that's been piloted this academic year, and we're also in the process just now of developing a technical apprenticeship in digital manufacturing. Technical expert group has been working in this since October, and we're also working with Scottish Engineering, the trade body I mentioned before, in net zero awareness training for small businesses. And it's the net zero awareness in the first instance. We are pushing the business case for working towards net zero. It's not just a nice thing to do, it's a good thing to do from a business perspective. And if we can get SMEs involved in it, then that'll provide upskilling opportunities for their workforces. Thanks. I did say I would reference a Climate Emergency Skills Action Plan, which was launched in December. It's got 6 main themes. Number 1, to make sure that the recovery from COVID is green, and it's just and it's fair. But it also highlights the fact that we need to understand the evidence of future skills needs to support transition. So that evidence has been gathered as we speak. The third theme is around developing the future workforce for the transition to net zero. So that's going to involve amending the content of college, university and apprenticeship programmes, upskilling the existing workforce I've already referred to, and I've also referred already to fairness and inclusion as part of the green recovery. But at all times we're taking a Team Scotland approach to this to make sure that all parts of the skill supply system use their collective strengths to be responsive to changing demands and potentially also legislation. And I can give some examples of what we're doing about that. We're working with Scottish Engineering, as I said, on the net zero awareness raising. They've developed a net zero schools toolkit, and they've now held 4 webinars. And following this series of webinars, there'll be in-depth one-to-one sessions. And they're effectively building a net zero manufacturing community, which is a wonderful thing. And the purpose there is to signpost the skills opportunities out there. There is a microsite that Scottish Engineering have, which hosts all of the dedicated, all of the resources and toolkits. We are actively working on getting green modules to be in all apprenticeship programs, not just the manufacturing ones, but business, finance, customer service will all have green modules. The new MA in digital manufacturing that I referred to has got sustainability embedded throughout, so apprentices will be getting access to skills required for the circular economy, design for remanufacturing, and so on. And the in this Skills Academy, we'll be providing a range or hosting a range of net zero CPD opportunities, which will be delivered throughout Scotland and by a number of different providers. Okay, I'm going to race through these because I'm just looking at the time there. We are looking for compulsory green components for all learners, both academic and work-based. I'll move on again, David. Yep, and upskilling interventions for the existing workforce, referred to aircraft decommissioning, Some businesses are moving into new sectors like renewables or life sciences manufacturing. We're looking at enhancing the digital and meta skills for the existing workforce as well. And yeah, just re-emphasising net zero awareness, signposting and provision. Thanks, David. Lastly, I wanted to talk about the space sector. We don't particularly shout enough about how good Scotland is here. We manufacture more nanosatellites than anywhere else outside California. Who knew? The manufacture of these requires a great deal of engineering expertise, and the ambition for Scotland is to provide what they're calling an end-to-end solution with manufacture, launch, and there's some inward investors hovering around just now looking at the potential of manufacturing launch vehicles in Scotland, which would be mega. That'd be fantastic. And the downstream that they talk about is the data side of things. What do these satellites actually do when they're up there? They gather data. They look at changing land use patterns. They look at moving tides. They look at deforestation. So it's going to collect a lot of data, which in turn is going to need to be analysed and acted upon. So the ambition for the space sector in Scotland is to deliver net zero, but we'll be using the space ambitions to help us deliver that. And so we're looking at space as being a force for good in the fight against climate change. Okay, thank you. I'll take questions at the end of this session, but now I'd like to pass over to Aisha Craig from Forth Valley College.
Hi there, thank you so much, Billy, for that. That was great. I think that's one thing that everyone will hear today is it's evident that the partnership and the joint up approach that SDS, ourselves at Forth Valley College, and even Heriot-Watt, other colleges, other universities, we all work very closely, and we're here to support no matter, what that kind of learner's journey is. So yeah, so thanks, Billy. So I'm here today to talk about the Foundation Apprenticeships at Forth Valley College. My role is actually workplace coordinator, so I work heavily with the delivery teams, assessors, and finding employers to link up to give them some sort of experience. Thanks, David. Have you got the next one? So I'm going to talk, I think because everyone's heard about modern apprenticeships, it's important to highlight what the actual foundation apprenticeships are. They are for senior phase school pupils. We've been delivering these at Forth Valley College since 2015, and over from the last 6 years, we have expanded that to delivering up to 10 frameworks. But what makes them work is the work-based learning. What makes them stand out from a level 6 course is the fact that the senior phase pupils are being exposed to work placement and SVQs or work type units within each framework. Thanks, David. So yeah, so we have, we also do level 4-5 ones that I always forget to mention. So that's more the construction hospitality at the moment we're delivering, but all the other ones will be level 6 for 5th and 6th years. We do some of the foundation apprenticeships in 1 year. The engineering one, unfortunately, we don't. There is other ones that we call them a fast track. So, it gives the pupil the MP unit or the NC units along with the SVQs together, give them the FE. And we are very lucky with the high schools we use that we have that partnership there that they understand it's part of their column choice. And over the years, we've actually had pupils go from an FE at Forth Valley College to an MA or an FE to a GA and within different universities. So yeah, I think it's important that, as I said at the start, everyone understands that we're all here, we're all supporting, we want to see that learner's journey, and we work closely with all our universities and colleges. Okay, so these are there is 12 frameworks, and we deliver these 10. So accountancy and business. Now, what's different about the accountancy one is they don't do SVQ units, they do AAT units, and then they're exposed to the new work-based challenge unit that gives them some insight into industry. And that one, the accountancy one, actually, we get a lot of our pupils who really enjoy that sort of learning, and then they move into an excellent or HNC, or they might secure an ME within that, or go to university, because they are seen as a higher that equates to their school qualifications. So we cover all these frameworks. As I say, not all of them are 2 years, some are 1 year. And in the last year, we've done the level 4-5 ones in construction hospitality. Now, for anybody understanding that kind of took over from the old skills for work units. So again, they were exposed to industry, when it be construction, hospitality, and so we're always keen to get more employers, because we understand employers might have, you know, an engineering background, but they still would like some business intake. They might have some software, they might have some science, depending on the actual workforce itself. Thanks, David. Okay, so as I say, these are all senior phase pupils. So we have an actual school partnership delivery where pupils in 4th, 5th and 6th year can come and do things from makeup in NMPAs. So the FAs have sat nicely within there, and we liaise with over 18 high schools across the area, all the way from Balfron and then, you know, all the way along to Lawrence Hill and Alva. So we work really closely with all our schools, which, you know, is great for things like the modern apprenticeships, the HNCs, the joint degrees and the graduate apprenticeships. The schools understand our relationships, our contacts, and we're always there to support one another. So I'm going to talk about the FA in engineering. This one has been going since 2015, slightly different because it's a full 12 NC credit national certificate, and we do it in engineering systems. So what that is, they are in kind of overview of things like they do electrical engineering, mechanical and instrumentation. What makes that different from just anyone doing a full NC is they do the 6 SVQ units. And that we have had students, and I actually think the student that's on the video at the end has moved nicely from an FE engineering into an ME engineering with an employer. So it's nice that they can seamlessly move into that. They're getting exposure to these PO2 SVQ units and understand what the workshop requirements are. And I think the next slide will highlight exactly what they do in each of the NC units as well. So yeah, so the whole with you know, we're here. I'm here today from Forth Valley College, but anyone else, any other college might do this slightly different with the part they pick from the NC. They might do more mechanical, they might do more aeronautics. You know, it's kind of SDS give us the bag to pick from, and with our expertise in Forth Valley College, we went with the NC engineering systems. So they're exposed to these 3 main different elements. And then the next slide shows you the VQs. The PO2 units is what we call them in the ME world, but they're the exact same. So that's the 6 that they do. And they do that within the workshops at Forth Valley College. It's not, other FAs tend to, they would be in the workplace or like this type of workplace during COVID. But due to the numbers that we've had, we've got about, I think about maybe 60 to 90 kids that roll over every 2 years. So it's a popular course. People want this subject, they want to get involved in this industry, which is great. And unfortunately, we just can't. And a lot of them might be under 16, which again, sometimes employers wouldn't be happy supporting. So we give them the experience like they do in a first year ME that Caroline will explain. So these units are done within the workshops within Forth Valley College. Next slide. So yeah, so this is a pupil, Keir Lapsley, I think it was Bowness Academy attended, and Keir actually went on to an ME within Forth Valley College. I believe it was Petro Ineos or Ineos, maybe Caroline will double check, I'm not 100% sure where he went, but that exposure and understanding of his FE really helped him, and he knew from day one, this is exactly the industry I want to go in, which is great. So if you want to start that now, David.
Caroline, I might just have to unshare my screen a second, then turn on computer sound.
Okay, no bother.
Okay.
I'd be happy to share if it doesn't work, David, but
I think we're good.
We're good? Excellent.
I'd recommend the Foundation Apprenticeship in Mechanical Engineering because it is a different environment, a different learning curve in your career. So I've done process management control and electrical principles, and then I've done hand work and hand tools in this area. That's probably been the best. Just getting down, getting your hands dirty, it's really good.
Thanks, David. Yeah, so I think that's all our pupils. You know, at the end of the day, this is the golden ticket. They want to get their hands dirty. You know, they've come from sitting in a classroom for maybe 4 or 5 years. This is the bit they want. They want to get in the labs. They want to get in the workshops. They want to get in the work placement. So if you want to go on the next slide, David, really with the engineering, what's quite good is we can maybe get an industry talk, or we could do a tour. Before COVID, we sometimes would like to take our pupils down to Forth Ports. We've been to the rail as well, so it's quite nice. It's just unfortunate sometimes because of the amount of time this takes, it's kind of logistically getting that happening, and COVID hasn't had made that happen. But we're always keen for employers like yourselves, if you are interested, please drop your details and we can do some sort of engagement with the Foundation Apprenticeship in Engineering. Thank you. So if that's me done, I'll pass on to Caroline Hogg at Forth Valley College as well. Thanks, Caroline.
Hi there, can you hear me okay? Yeah.
Yep.
Great. Hi there, my name is Caroline Hogg. I'm the client manager for Forth Valley College, and I have a team of business partners. We manage the modern apprenticeship programs at Forth Valley College, and we've got one of the largest modern apprenticeship programs within the college sector. Do you want to go to the next slide? I wanted to give you maybe a quick overview of Forth Valley College, if that's okay first, and what we actually do in terms of apprenticeships and the disciplines that we do. If you'd like to go to the next slide. So we've got state-of-the-art facilities. We're really fortunate. We've had 3 new campuses in the last 10 years. Our head office, our headquarters, was built and opened in January 2020. So we've only had 2 months in our new campus, but it's absolutely superb. It's got state-of-the-art facilities, and it's our headquarters for our engineering department specifically, with superb workshops and working environments and labs and everything that you need for apprentices to do well in their apprenticeship journey. Next slide. So we have 4 teaching departments: business, care, sports and construction, creative industries, hospitality and tourism. And what I'm going to talk to you today about is engineering and science. Next slide. So at Forth Valley College, we deliver a range of disciplines. Our largest discipline areas within modern apprenticeships are engineering and construction, but we also do everything else that's stated on that. So in terms of engineering, we're really fortunate. We're based on what we call the Grangemouth Strip in the Forth Valley area. So we work with the companies that are on that slide. So Ineos, Petra, Ineos, Shell, we deliver apprenticeships to them, and we have been doing for 15-20 years. And that's why we invested in this new building in the Forth Valley area in Falkirk, to make sure that we were, being able to train a skilled workforce for the whole of Scotland. Really, we deliver to the whole of UK, but predominantly in Scotland. So we're very well adverse to the amount of training and skills that are required, specifically because of COVID and the gap that's going to probably occur in 4 or 5 years' time, because of the lack of apprenticeships that have been taken up in 1920. Next slide. In terms of engineering, these are the employers that we work with. So from all over Scotland, we go to Sullivan right down to the borders. We work with companies like Glasgow Smith Kline. We work with Edinburgh Airport, Alexander Dennis, who's on our doorstep. We've currently just engaged with AG Bar, who make the magnificent Iron Brew. So they're now taking on apprenticeships and looking to develop their workforce, and we're delighted to have them on board. So yeah, we work with various employers from all over Scotland. In terms of strategic partners, so we're really keen to speak to employers and see how we can help. We're always keen to explore, options, innovative ideas. So I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, Scottish Power came to us. They didn't have anyone to deliver overhead line training. We had a field out the back of our old campus, and that's one of the pictures at the very top there. So we actually built overhead lines and started delivering that training. Another example of tailor-made training is FES. So they do building services. They're a well-known organisation. They didn't have any space to actually train their apprentices. We had just built our Alloa campus at the time, and we had space in that campus to actually build a specific training facility for them. So we're always keen to engage with employers and look at training options specifically for the future and the requirements and what we're going to need to upskill and train our workforce. So we're always open to we're very approachable for you to come to us and have a chat with us on your specific needs for training. Thank you. In terms of our delivery and the standard that we deliver within the college, we had a review with Education Scotland. So Education Scotland come in, to the colleges throughout the sector, and they'll do a review on how good you engage with students, how good you engage with your partners, your employers, and about the leadership and quality culture. And we're delighted that last year we got really, really good results. It was the best review in the college sector in a number of years. In terms of our achievements, we have industry experience assessors. Most of our assessors come from industry. They've 35, 40 years experience, and they come to college, to kind of finish their career and to pass on their experience to apprentices, and that's just invaluable for the young people. For us, we've got one of the highest achievement rates in engineering in terms of apprentices in the college sector, and I think that's down to the fact that we make sure that we've got industry experience staff, assessors and lecturers. Lecturers also come from industry as well, and that's really important for us to be able to pass that experience on to the young people that are doing the training. We have a unique kind of role in the college sector in Scotland. We've got a team of business partners who go out and they're kind of the catalyst between the employers, the apprentices and the academic department and the assessors. So they support the apprentice and the employer all the way through the apprenticeship programme. We've been delivering modern apprentices for 20 years, as I said. We have about 340 employers live at any one time. The majority of them are engineering and construction, but we also deal with business admin, IT, hospitality management. We're one of the largest modern apprenticeship providers in the college sector in Scotland, and we've got over, I think it's about 1,050 MEs live we've got just now. In terms of our success rates, we have really high achievement rates within our engineering sector specifically, and overall I think the national average for apprenticeships in Scotland's about 75% in engineering, and we're sitting at 84 just now, so we're quite happy with that standard. So in terms of what support is available if you were to come and bring an apprentice to Forth Valley College, we've got industry trained lecturing staff and instructor assessors. We've got business development partners. Our delivery models, we've got a few different options. So some of our engineering apprentices come full time to college. They can come on day release. You can also do the apprenticeship in the workplace, so they can do a VQ only in the workplace where our assessors go out there to the workplace. But even if they are in the workplace solely and not coming to college, they can always access our services. So our student services, our council services, our e-learning services, our resource centres. There's loads of support in place. In terms of what the apprentice gets and the support they get, they'll have our work-based assessors. They'll get the employer support from you, and that would be, supervisor, HR support, mentoring support. So for an apprentice, you know, there's all the support there for them to make them successful on their journey to becoming a tradesperson. And that's everything that I've got. So I'm happy to take questions with everybody else towards the end. Thank you.
Thanks, Caroline. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lynn Somerville. I am a Business Relationship Manager at Heriot-Watt University on the Graduate Apprenticeship Programme. My role is to work with employers to help them grow their workforce and upskill their current employees in order to react to market needs and demands. If you go to the next slide, please, David. Thanks. So Heriot-Watt University's relationship with Forth Valley College goes back a rather long time, much further than I could honestly comment on. So I sought the sage guidance of Heriot-Watt University's Graduate Apprenticeship Programme Academic Director, Dr. Robin Westcott. So Robin kindly advised me that the relationship spans back as far as 25 years and started in chemical engineering through traditional articulation. In the last 20 years, the partnership has seen the improvement of transition, which included the development of a widening participation maths programme known as ELRAH. We have also seen the development of Engineers of the Future programme, again in partnership with Forth Valley and industry partner INEOS, which included electrical and mechanical engineering. So when it was decided in 2019 that Heriot-Watt would offer the Instrumentation, Measurement and Control IMCGA programme, Forth Valley College were the first educational partner of choice. The IMC programme itself is operated on a 2.2 agreement whereby Forth Valley College delivers the first 2 years of the programme and Heriot-Watt delivers the final 2 years. So the relationship we have with Forth Valley College continues to grow and gain strength as we work with employers Scotland-wide to address their skills gaps, not only in engineering, but across the suite of apprenticeship programmes that we offer in support of industry. If you go to the next slide, please, David. So COVID, as we know, has created a great deal of economic uncertainty, but the lesson we learned on the back of 2007-8 downturn will hopefully not be forgotten. So many engineering firms at that point stopped their apprenticeship programmes as a cash-saving exercise, and some have paid dearly for that decision since. It's created a skills gap that they found near nigh impossible to recover from. So each organisation we work with has their own individual reasons for engaging with the apprenticeship programme, but in main they have a skills gap and or need a succession plan due to having an aged workforce. So it's vital that apprenticeship remain top of the employer's agenda. So when we do come out of COVID and return to business as usual, they will be able to retain their market position and react to market demands accordingly. With that in mind, the Scottish Government cites apprenticeships as key to businesses both large and small and from all sectors being able to pivot in the face of change and to react to business needs and demands whilst ultimately driving economic growth across Scotland. The Graduate Apprenticeship Programme offers organisations an affordable and sustainable way to grow its workforce whilst creating degree qualified work-ready individuals and ultimately creating the organisation's leadership team of tomorrow. Can you go to the next slide, please, David? So you've heard Aisha and Caroline speak about the Foundation and Modern Apprenticeship Programme. So the three programmes themselves, the Foundation, the Modern, the Graduate Apprenticeship Programme, make up what is known as the apprenticeship family. They simply deliver at different academic levels, with the Graduate Apprenticeship Programme delivering up to CQF level 11. They are there to work in unison with one another, so we have many GA candidates who were an FA or an MA who have joined the GA programme subsequently. So all graduate apprenticeship programmes come fully funded via Skills Development Scotland and the Scottish Funding Council, and there's no upper limit to as to how many that any one organisation can take at any one point in time. So the graduate apprenticeships are utilised by employers to attract, recruit and retain new talents, and also to upskill the current workforce of an organisation to be degree qualified. So if you're an employer and you're looking to recruit, we offer free support tailored to your needs, including help with the job spec, free advertising, promotion of the job, right down to filtering the candidates down to a selection that you can interview from. If you're looking to upskill or reskill current employees, we simply need a copy of the candidate's CV and academic certificates achieved to date to qualify that they meet entry requirements. So all 9 Heriot-Watt graduate apprenticeship programmes are delivered via 2 modes, an online mode and an on-campus mode of teaching. A candidate or employer can opt for whatever mode is most suitable to them. So a candidate now has the option if they want to attend the university campus or not. I'll go over the 9 GA programmes and deliver again in brief a little later on in the presentation. But the benefits of the graduate apprenticeship programme in comparison to a candidate studying a full-time undergrad programme are unique in that the candidate achieves an honours degree which is based on the full-time undergrad programme, but it's condensed, obviously, and they have no fees to be paid by the at all, and that's by the candidate or the employer, and they leave with no loans to pay at the end. And again, in comparison to the counterpart full-time or part-time undergrad student, they're applying the theory that they're learning at university real-time from day one of the programme. Also, they're fast-tracking their careers, so they're 3 or 4 years, if not more, ahead of the counterparts that are coming out from the full-time undergrad. Again, option. Next slide, thanks, David. So again, all GA programmes are fully funded, and for a candidate eligible to join the programme, they must be 16 years with no upper age limit applicable. So we actually have many candidates who are in the older age category. So we have a wide scope of candidates ranging from school leavers right through to directors of organisations, colleagues who sit in senior leadership team positions within the likes of the Scottish Government, as only one example. So the GA candidate is expected to spend 80% of their time in the workplace and 20% of their time at university. So based on a full-time contract, the 80% equates to 4 days in the workplace, and the 20% always equates to that 1 day. The 1 day must be included in the candidate's contracted hours of work, and the academic year is over 42 weeks. So I mentioned that the online mode of delivery is never an option, and although the candidate's physical location is not relevant due to the online mode of delivery, they must be resident and working in Scotland, and again, they must be employed by the business for a minimum of 21 hours. So in addition to the 1 day at university, be it online or on campus, post restrictions being lifted, the candidate must allow for 4 hours of study each week in order to meet the expectations of the GA programme, i.e. meet their assessment and assignments. So the graduate apprenticeship programme flips the traditional academic model of achieving an honours degree on its head, in that the GA candidate will achieve the exact same degree as a full or part-time undergrad student, but they'll do so whilst employed in a role relevant to the discipline of the honours degree they're studying towards. So it's worth noting that we have candidates who are studying full or part-time degrees, who had been studying full or part-time degrees, I should say, who have then joined the GA programme at no cost to them or their employer. And what they had achieved thus far was transferable, so they came in at the exact same entry point. The difference being that they're then potentially able to apply what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. It can become credit-bearing and weighted and cross-mapped over to the honours degree. So they're able to apply that theory in practice. So although the employer loses the candidate or the employee for that 1 day, the business benefits greatly from the employee learning the most kind of theories, practices, etc., that they can then apply real-time to the work-based projects that they're working on. The 80% work-based learning element that the candidate is working on is what the business requires the employee to do on a day-to-day basis. And again, as I mentioned, it then becomes credit-bearing and can be cross-mapped in order to meet with the remit of the honours degree. So the Heriot-Watt personal tutor works closely with the employer and the candidate to achieve this, thus making every graduate apprentice programme quite unique to that employer and the candidate. I'd say that's quite specific to the engineering programme, where there's elective subjects options, especially in the engineering, design and manufacture, and the 3rd and 4th year of the IMC programme. Typically, a GA programme takes 4 years unless the candidate is applicable for advanced entry to year 2 and in exceptional circumstances year 3, which is based on accredited or recognised prior learning. It's also worth noting that it does not need to be the person's 1st or 2nd degree in order to apply and be successful in securing graduate apprentice funding. And as you will see from this slide, SDS conducted a survey of GA employers last year, and they all reported that all GA employers reported that they would take on another graduate apprentice candidate again in the future, with 87% reporting improved workforce sustainability, 72% bridge skills gaps, and there was a notable increase in retention and new skill sets being learned within the organisation. If you can go to the next slide, please, David. So Heriot-Watt University delivers against 9 of the 13 frameworks that are approved to be delivered, fully funded by Skills Development Scotland and the Scottish Funding Council. Although we're chatting about the engineering programmes, you can see we deliver against not only IMC and engineering design and manufacture, but there are other programmes listed here that are cross-sectoral that are still applicable to employer partners that are on this call today, such as business management, data science and software development. You can see this slide deck when it's sent round, it will be PDF, and those programmes listed will be hyperlinked, so you can click through to a high-level overview of each of the 9 programmes. I should also point out that we're ranked as #1 in Scotland and 4th in the UK for our engineering programmes, amongst other accolades such as #1 again in Scotland for civil engineering and construction and built environment. And like our Forth Valley College colleagues, our teaching staff are qualified, industry qualified to a calibre that's in line and fitting with the programmes that we deliver. So you'll see a small selection of the hundreds of graduate apprentice employer partners that we work with from across Scotland. These range from corporates, SMEs to micro organisations of 1 to 2 persons. In terms of the IMC engineering employers we work with, Caroline's already mentioned a few of them. So we've got the NHS, GlaxoSmithKline, Callachem, Petrofac, and then only a few. Next slide, please, David. So I've hyperlinked 3 case studies here. You'll be able to click through those on those when you receive the PDF document across. I'll not bother going into those just now. If you can go on to the last slide, David. So lastly, in a call to action for any engineering employers on the webinar, Heriot-Watt is working with SDS. In fact, Billy is working with us on this initiative and Equate Scotland in tackling a workforce gender gap initiative, which is specific to the engineering sector. So we'd be very keen to speak to any employers and our industry partners on this call who are interested in working with us on this initiative. And of course, you can contact me directly if you have any questions or would like to arrange a meeting with me to discuss the graduate apprenticeship programme. So I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to listen, and back to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think, Lynn, could you? Yeah, thank you. Just getting a bit of feedback there. Thanks. Listen, thanks to Billy, Aisha, Caroline, and yourself, Lynn, for all that great content. I think that was a great overview of the sector, skills and challenges, and then obviously taking us through each of the component parts of the apprenticeship family. So we do have a wee bit of time left for some questions. Now we've got our lovely speakers are still here, so it'd be a shame to not ask them a question. So I shall keep an eye on the chat function to see if anybody wants to put their hand up, or if somebody's brave enough, we can ask the question out loud. I'm happy to stop sharing my screen as well so you can see the lovely faces. Or maybe I should share again. So, if anybody would like to ask a question. So, yes, just while we're waiting for MD to be brave enough to ask a question, we're happy to field any questions post-event. So you can feel free to use the email address that was on the screen before, which is ga@hw.ac.uk. So if that can be any part of the presentations, and we'll make sure the question gets to the right place. As Lynn said, we will be sending out a copy of the slides today, and we'll also be sending out a recording of the session as well. Looks like nobody's going to ask a question. Come on.
I'll just say, David, what's quite interesting for me is I'm actually a current GA myself, so I work at Forth Valley College, obviously do that fantastic job linking up with employers, But I'm in my 3rd year now as a GA in the business management at Heriot-Watt. So I always like to put that out there. I think some people go, so go and explain it to me. And I know it's great, Linda, the overview. But yeah, I always say to any colleagues that looking to upskill within their own areas, or they're not sure about, you know, I've done this particular course, or I've been working for long in a section. So yeah, it's some great stuff out there, and it's really, really benefited me.
Yeah, I would say Aisha's actually offered to speak with an employer and a candidate in order to educate them on the potentials, etc., of the GA programme. So that's the lens that we'll go to. If you're unsure, or if you want further information, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Because it is a minefield out there, you know, especially if you're working full time. You know, same with employers who feel they just, you know, COVID's brought a lot of uncertainty and a lot of demand. You know, they can't have a school pupil. You know, what I'm looking for as an FE in the workplace and as a school pupil to technically come into the workplace. And I understand that is a big ask through everything that everyone's been through. You know, so it's something simple as exposing them to your induction programme that you would give your staff. You know, what's the history of your workplace? You know, what's the health and safety they have to go through if they walk through the doors. I mean, for the Foundation Apprenticeship Employer Engagement, it's a great, you know, start to look. They used to call it, you know, you're looking, try before you buy, the talent pipeline. You don't have to pay for them to attend any placements. It's a case of exposure for them to cover any units, or you can do it online. So that's great. And then with me having my student head on, it's quite nice to see how it goes right through, you know, to the GA and how that works.
Yeah. For sure. I think Caroline touched on as well that we work really closely with industry in terms of being able to support them. So creating bespoke packages is an option. I think it's really inspirational to see what Forth Valley done in terms of the support in building the pylons in the backyard. Well, not really the backyard, but
it was an old campus.
It was the backyard. It was basically a field, and it wasn't being used. And you know, the business needed it, and we had the area to be able to supply the training, and it worked absolutely fantastic for years. And then we moved campus, and there was no longer a requirement for it. But we're really keen to work with industry in, you know, what any needs they have. Just come and speak to us.
So although we spoke about the apprenticeship programme, there are others. So if you're maybe on the call and you already have a degree and you're not interested in studying another degree, there are master level qualifications that are funded that we're offering at the moment. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can reach out to us also.
Well, if nobody's going to ask a question,
No, we've got a question. What drives the creation of new GA courses? Well, all apprenticeship programmes, regardless of which level, are delivered because there's a skills gap. So in order to create a new GA course, there would need to be a demand, and it would need to be approved via SDS firstly, and there would need to be a market demand. So we're actually talking about bringing a 10th GA programme online. It was planned for this year, but it's been pushed back to next year. That's chemical process engineering. However, if you were to come to the university today and say we have a 12-person cohort, as an example, we could look to run that course specifically for your organisation. I hope that answered your question. If anyone else has got anything else to add to that. I know that I've got a couple of colleagues on the call, Alan Faulkner-Jones, who heads up, Dr. Alan Faulkner-Jones, who heads up the engineering, design and manufacture, and we've got Derek Thompson as well, I can see. Yeah. Okay.
But thanks, Morag, for the question.
Yeah, thank you, Morag.
Well, if nobody's got any other questions, I'm happy to close the call there. I'd just like to thank you again, Billy, Aisha, Caroline and Lynn, for your time today. That was really useful. We'll get a great session. And even for what we also make sure is that the recording goes to anybody that couldn't make the session today as well. So we'll make sure all that great content doesn't get, it goes to as many people as possible. Put it that way. Okay, so if there's no more questions, I'm happy to leave it there, and I'll say good afternoon and thanks all for attending today. Thank you.
Thanks for having us, David.
Thanks, David.
Bye.
Have a good afternoon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.